Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland, my weekly show where we take a deep dive into a particular film. And we're in the waning era of my Miyazaki series here, as we're down to the last three films. And honestly, one of my personal favorites. I adore this film, and we're going to be talking about Ponyo. But joining me are two of my friends that I've met through SiftPop. First off, Luke. Luke, thank you so much for coming on.
Always a blast. Thank you for having me.
Luke and I obviously do a lot of stuff together, so you've probably seen or heard Luke quite a few times on quite a few of my shows. But then also returning to this show, John Tillyard, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, it's good to be here.
I'm pretty sure our first one of these we did was the BFG back when I did the
Yes.
Steven Spielberg series, which my wife will still refuse to call the big friendly giant and call the big effing guy. Um,
Yes.
because that one's
Yeah,
more fun. So there you go.
yeah, it is definitely what I assumed when the first time I heard the title of that film.
It's accurate though. He
Mhm.
is indeed a big effing
Yeah.
guy. So, but for those who haven't tuned into the show before, we have three segments. We're going to start things off with coming attractions. It's August 8th. Why is it August already?
Mhm.
Ugh,
Uh,
keeps going by. That's waning summer. But this weekend we have a new horror film, Weapons, which is from the director of Barbarian. So it's probably going to be messed up, crazy, and twisted. And I'm really hoping for another large cameo from Justin Long. For those who've seen Barbarian. And we also have Freakier Friday, a sequel to Freaky Friday, starring Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis. What's this, 20 years later?
Yeah.
So they
more than
had a
that, I
way
think
to.
99 first one.
I thought it was like 2003, wasn't it?
I don't even know what the specific date of release is, but it's been at least 20 years.
Yeah,
And
has
they
been a while.
waited for Lindsay Lohan to get back on track with things, make a few Netflix rom-coms, and now we got Freakier Friday. And there's a bunch of other smaller films, a couple of music documentaries, a film directed by Kristen Scott Thomas, a very talented actor, which is actually, John, what you picked, which is My Mother's Wedding. So, what piqued your interest here?
Um, I think I just like the idea of like rom-com set of weddings. But there's always kind of like an interesting area for shenanigans, maybe just seeing what happens there. And I believe
Mhm.
you said that it was going to have like a bunch of her daughters at the wedding.
Yeah,
So
so I think the three daughters, it's Scarlett Johansson, Sienna Miller, Emily Beecham.
right, so it could be like sort of like maybe a bunch of rom-com shenanigans, like all rolled into one with like various different women. Like I don't know, maybe hitting it off with certain different men, and what transpires from that, I'm not sure. I don't know a huge amount about it, but just from that cast, I think, and that the idea of like that's kind of set up, I think there's like a good ground for a bit of comedy there.
I will, I buried the lead. I have watched this already.
Oh,
I did get a screening link. It's interesting because you would like if Kristen Scott Thomas is going to take on a project, I would assume that she sees some quality in it. And also Scarlett Johansson just, you know, her non like big budget films, like you would assume like she's being very particular about what she picks. There's definitely a decent amount to enjoy about it. I was very perturbed when Scarlett Johansson started speaking in an English accent.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that
From the
before.
start, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But she goes there.
can,
Um,
can we give it up for this legend, by the way, for ScarJo? Like she goes from like American to like Asian cinema icon to now British. Like, like the
She's got
shades,
some range.
that the range of that one character, a character actress. Like she's on top of her game. Mwah.
Yeah.
she was German too.
Of course, yeah,
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah,
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
Jojo
she
Rabbit.
got nominated for an Oscar for that.
I guess the less the said about the American remake of Ghost in the Shell, the better. But
Mm.
they made it.
They sure did.
Hopefully they don't make the same mistakes with Akira whenever that actually gets made. But It seems like that's
That
not
actually
probably going
thing.
to happen anytime soon.
Like, isn't it been in develop? Hasn't it been in development for like 10 years? So wasn't there a plan? Like, because I think it was the early days even of Avatar 1, right? So 2009-ish. I think I seen a headline where he wanted to develop live action Akira movie. So like I again, maybe I'm just making it up, or maybe it's like
I
it
would
goes
be
as way.
down for him to make a live in,
Exactly.
in a
Yeah.
movie. And like, he was supposed to do Alita, I guess, and then it turned to him just producing
Yeah.
it. He's just living in Avatar land. He has not left Pandora. So,
So
maybe
he's
someday.
probably got another two movies over the next like 15 years or something planned.
Well, we are
Well,
getting these quite quickly now. Like the third one
yeah.
is
Oh
coming
yeah,
up
yeah,
this
true. This
Christmas.
new Avatar's out coming out this year, isn't it?
Well,
The
And if
because
I'm
they
not
Avatar.
filmed all
mistaken,
three of them at the same
yeah,
time,
so the fourth one is pretty much finished as well. I think they only need to make the fifth because he said he wants to
which
make
he's not
four
doing.
more. Oh, is he not?
Oh, okay.
No,
Hmm.
I think he's doing Ghost of Hiroshima as his next film after,
Hmm.
because he took a bunch of shots at Christopher Nolan for not showing the devastation of
Oh yeah.
Hiroshima in Oppenheimer. He's like, I'm
Oh,
gonna do it in my movie. I'm like, that's a brag, man.
And
Uh
yeah.
also, that wasn't the point of Oppenheimer. Like,
Yeah, that's the whole idea. It's about Oppenheimer. It's not about the bomb. Missing the
like
point, man.
yeah,
but
like James
you
Cameron. I
know,
like James Cameron, but like that's totally missing the point
Yeah.
there.
James Cameron has a lot of strong opinions about things,
Yes.
and he will share them.
Well,
But no, so yeah, Scarlett Johansson is a national treasure for multiple
um,
nations,
for
apparently.
multi. Yes.
Absolutely.
Now, Luke and I
Yeah,
both
I think
picked,
that's another thing. Like Scott, if ScarJo's in it, I'm down
yeah,
for it. Yeah.
Hmm.
and she's a fantastic actor. I feel like a lot of people, it gets bogged down in the fact that like she'll do Jurassic World, and she was Black Widow for
Hmm.
how many years at that point.
Yeah.
But Luke, both of us picked weapons. So, what
Yes.
piques your interest about weapons?
So my interest has been piqued ever since I learned the fact I shared before the recording, and I've quickly verified it, and I'm correct. So originally, this movie was in a bidding war between two studios. One of them being Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw studio, and yeah, and so apparently he was there. They were like 7 million short, like according to IMDb. I quickly read it now, and he was willing to finance it pretty much himself and like to pay the difference. And then it didn't happen, and because of that, like afterwards, his agent was let go. Maybe nothing to do with that, maybe everything to do with that. But if Jordan Peele is that interested in this, and because this screams Jordan Peele, like I'm nothing against Zach, whoever his name, who directed Barbarian. I really enjoyed Barbarian, and I think he's gonna do a great job. I would love to live in a world where this is a newest Jordan Peele movie, like directed by him, not just produced or whatever. But nevertheless, besides the point, we have this movie. The trailers look awesome. It looks like it gives you just enough of that mystery where I don't think it gives you anything. It doesn't give anything away. It doesn't seem like it's spoiling itself, which movies tend to do a lot. So I
Mm.
think, it's probably it looks creepy. It looks like there's a mystery at play. And as long as the mystery, the explanation behind it is solid enough, I think we might have something decent on our hands. So yeah.
I'm pretty
Okay.
excited about this. And ever since those first couple like teasers came out with those creepy kid, basically
Mm.
Naruto running in the middle of the night out
Yeah.
like this through the streets, I'm like, a creepy kid's being creepy. Um, and then yes, the trailer barely gives you anything.
Yeah.
It's like this classroom of kids disappeared, but why?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it kind of sets the stage because you have Julie Gardner, Josh Brolin, Alden Ehrenreich are like
Hmm.
the three big performers in this film. And I'm like, I'm a fan of each one of them. I'm
Hmm.
looking forward to seeing them do some stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing Josh Brolin do some stuff that isn't like a big franchise.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, and get a
Okay.
little grittier. And like he's a concerned parent who, being a dad's not going to just lie down and let somebody else find his kid. So, he's probably going to get up to his dumb shenanigans because, irresponsible. But it's one of those things where like the trailer's really creepy, and I checked because I have a press screening for this on Tuesday. This is a 2 hour and 8 minute film. It's like there's a lot of
Hmm.
space to do some crazy stuff in this. And if Barbarians any indication, there's space to do some crazy stuff because those trailers only gave away the first third of the movie.
Yeah, that's
So
the other thing, right? That's
Good
because
it's like
I haven't even seen any Barbarian trailers. All I've heard about that movie, oh, only the first 20, 30 minutes were advertised, and there's a whole new movie within that movie after. So like when I finally watched it, and there is a one sequence of the movie, I'm not gonna spoil. I was like, oh, we're doing this now. Pretty cool.
whole second act of that movie is wild, where that
Yep.
decides to take it. So like
And then
if
the
that's
third
the kind of
one.
vibe we're gonna get, and those are the kinds of stories this
Mhm,
director wants to tell, like I I will give like there's a lot of things I loved about Barbarian. There's some things that didn't work for me, but like I just
mhm.
appreciated the fact that like I had no idea where this movie was going.
Yep.
And I want
Right.
more movies like that. So I'll take weapons,
Well, yeah,
Mhm.
that helps. That it doesn't show it in the trailer as well, so it's
Yep.
not spoiled for you. That
which
should
is
be
a
like an actual rule now with trailers. Just show like the first act, nothing else.
no. Universal wouldn't be able to make trailers anymore because what if they can't make a 3.5 minute Hobbs and Shaw trailer that gives away the whole entire movie beat for beat throughout the whole
Yeah,
entire thing? If a trailer's no trailer should be 3.5 minutes
Yeah.
unless you're Alfred Hitchcock walking around showing the set and trying to creep
yeah. If
you
you're not
out.
going to show footage, yeah, I can get behind that maybe.
So like, why is the Psycho trailer 7 minutes? Alfred Hitchcock's like,
There's
there's
nothing
gonna be
from the movie in it.
there's gonna be some crazy shit going on in here.
Hmm.
That's the trailer.
Oh,
But we'll transition here into our actual film of the week, which is Ponyo. I have some background here. Obviously, this is from director Hayao Miyazaki, came out in 2008. Budgeted was $34 million. And yet again, this man breaking the box office worldwide. This made $206 million worldwide. So,
Nice.
like,
I
it
did not know.
obviously made its money. So,
Wow.
it was the eighth highest grossing anime of all time when it came out, which at least a handful of those are also Miyazaki because Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke all made
Yep.
a crap ton of money too.
Yep. Hmm.
Um, Ponyo received the widest Studio Ghibli release ever. So this has had the widest release that it's ever had in the United States
Hmm.
specifically. Um, because I don't think The Boy and the Heron had like the biggest release here.
I would imagine so, yeah.
It was pretty
Um,
big. I remember it being pretty big when it came out.
Miyazaki's focus was to make another film geared towards children. So, which is the vast majority of his films. That will be a different story in my next episode with The Wind Rises, which I don't think you should watch with your children because I'm sure they'll be bored. Um, not that kind of movie. The purpose was to mix real world and fantastical elements into a story, which
Hmm.
was something that he wanted to explore. Miyazaki wanted to explore new approaches to animation as well. So this one feels a little bit different than some of his other films. Miyazaki spent time in Komonora, which is a seaside town, trying to draw some inspiration for the setting for the film. He also read all of Natsume Soseki's work and was drawn to the work The Gate, which all of those were big influences on this film. The stormy sea with giant waves was like the launching point. Like this was what he had in his mind was that big sequence with the storm and everything else kind of came from there. Uh, Suya Kondo's how short film influenced the animation style. So this was something that it's cool. I'd be interested to check out what this looks like if it was something that influenced Hayao Miyazaki.
Hmm.
All traditional animation was used for this film after his last three films incorporated computer generated animation in some shape or form. So he wanted to strip that all away.
Oh, nice.
Um, Richard Wagner's opera Die Walker is a major influence, including references to the music in the film, which is why this has this operatic music that pops in. Uh, Sosuke was based on Goro Miyazaki as a child. So basically, our young protagonist was based off of Hayao Miyazaki's son. Um, wow, I was gonna make a really mean comment. I'm sorry. I was about to say, I was like, I wonder if Sasuke grew up to make really crappy anime like Earwig the Witch. Don't watch that one.
Still haven't seen it.
Just a public service announcement. Um, it's the worst
Mhm.
Studio Ghibli film by like a mile, and it
Mhm.
also looks terrible. That
Oh,
3D animation looks so creepy. Miyazaki planned a sequel, but was shut down by producer Toshio Suzuki in favor of The Wind Rises. So
Mhm.
he actually wanted to follow
hmm.
up Ponyo with another film, but then was pushed in a different direction. This actually came out on the same day as Pokemon Giratina and the Sky Warrior in Japan. So Miyazaki went toe to toe with Pokemon
Wow.
at the Japanese
Poseidon.
box office,
Okay.
which there's so many Pokemon movies at this point. Like, I remember the first three that got
The
released
first
in
one's
theaters
literally called
here.
the first movie.
Correct. In case you didn't know, and I had all three of those first movies on VHS. And I think the only other one that I watched was a straight to Netflix one that came out. That was the most recent one.
Mhm.
But oh yeah. I don't know why I didn't think of Detective Pikachu. That's also
Oh yeah.
technically a Pokemon movie.
You know?
Like it's not like oh, it's Ash. No, it's Justice Smith. Like, what are you doing here, Justice Smith? Um, Tokyo Anime Fair chose Ponyo as Animation of the Year in 2008. And lastly, this was an entrant at the 65th Venice International Film Festival, which it seems like Miyazaki ran most of his films at the Venice International Film Festival, based on my research and my notes from like the past 5 episodes. So getting to the actual film, a 5-year-old boy develops a relationship with Ponyo, a young goldfish princess who longs to become a human after falling in love with him. This film is also very much like Little Mermaid vibes, for sure.
Yep.
Really
Definitely. That was
drawing
one of my
upon that.
notes. Yeah, massive
But
influence.
let's jump on in here. I guess, Luke, we'll start with you because you're on top. What are your general thoughts on Ponyo?
I was gonna add, if IMDb is to be trusted, or IMDb trivia, apparently when he was watching The Little Mermaid, the original, he got an idea for Ponyo as well. So there is a massive influence about, yeah. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
so this was my first watch yesterday of Ponyo. I've never seen it before. I watched it in original language with subtitles because that's how I watch movies.
Nice.
I don't do dubbing. I cannot do American dubbing. I'm sorry. I know it's good. I know it's supposed to be great. I know, but no. And I loved it. It's not. I remember this coming out because that was about the time when I was starting to become like a teenage cinephile, and I remember hearing, "Oh, this is kind of low for Miyazaki, and this is kind of low for Ghibli. Like low meaning not as good." And I see why, in a sense where it's more, thematically it's not much happening, as especially compared to himself, like House Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke, Totoro, like all those great movies. But also, I'm one of the people who really likes Kiki's Delivery Service, and I'm vibing with that movie, and I was vibing with this movie as well because this is a pure vibe. This is adorable as fuck. Like genuinely, this is one of the most adorable movies I've ever seen. Like it's just so cute, and it feels like a warm blanket when you like equivalent like movie equivalent of warm blanket and like a hot cocoa. Like that's the only way I can describe it.
Absolutely. How about you, John?
Okay, so I saw this a few years ago. I actually don't remember it particularly well until I saw it the other day. I did watch the English version, which means I was subjected to Liam Neeson. He was. I've just got to say, I don't think he's very good in this film. Like there's one bit where he says like, "Oh, the planet's doomed," and there's no emotion behind a line like that. It's so weird. But yeah, outside of like maybe some of the performances, I did enjoy like the kind of more contemporary kind of feel that it has to it, with like some sort of weird stuff happening, which is very much sort of like Miyazaki style. But it felt like there was like they wanted to tone down like the weird stuff as much as they could for this one and make it much more contemporary and have it be just the story of the girl like trying to become human. Yeah, very clear like Little Mermaid sort of vibes. But I actually thought this was maybe a slightly better way of telling the story of Little Mermaid, because it like sort of you're taking out the villain element of it for a start. She's not like making some kind of like risky kind of deal in order to become human. She's just sort of doing it for herself. And it's a really nice little relationship between the mother and the son to start off with. Some amazing like visuals. Like when I can get the money, I'm going to move to the seaside, because it's easy in this country. It's just such an amazing like sort of like life that you've got to have when you just wake up and you just see the sea. It's like it just makes you want to go to the seaside. These kind of visuals, and I just like the sort of idea of like growing into a human, like literally growing into a human and wanting to become human, and like realizing what human life is like, and like desiring it. I think that's quite an interesting sort of arc that Ponyo goes over the course. Kind of almost like Lilo and Stitch kind of vibes, because you've even got that bit where she's like saying, "My name is Ponyo," which reminded me a little bit of Lilo and Stitch. So yeah, there are two Disney films kind of influence, but I do like enjoy this because it's more like maybe targeted for American audiences in the way that it's not as kind of out there and weird, like the way that a lot of Miyazaki's films are. They kind of tone that down a little bit, and it's a little easier to follow the story of like what they have to do and what they have to stop and everything. And it's just a really like cute story, but with the mother and the son and Ponyo as well, I think.
Yeah, I think I've seen this 4 times or 5 times. I did actually get to see this in theaters for Ghibli Fest one year,
Nice.
and that was such a fun experience. I think I've watched it maybe once subbed, most of the time dubbed.
Mhm.
I feel okay watching the Miyazaki films and Ghibli because at least they put in a lot of effort into the dubbing. There's some movies where you watch it with dubbed and the dubbing is trash, and you're
Mhm.
just like, you didn't even try. But yeah, Liam Neeson's voice does not match this weird flashy character that he
Yeah,
plays
he's
in
a
this
wacky kind of
movie at
character,
all.
and it's just Liam Neeson's voice. It doesn't fit.
Um, I've always thought that was a little strange because I'm like, this character does not look like this should be coming out of him with this giant colorful hair, the makeup, and all these crazy things that this character is wearing. But this film is so charming. This is like endlessly charming kind of film. And Luke, I think this was a good comparison to this is one of those more like experience kind of Ghibli films like Kiki, where
Yeah.
like there isn't this film does not have a big overarching arc of
Mhm.
like there's no MacGuffins,
Yeah.
there's no like big plot points. It's just a kid and this little fish who wants to be a little kid too.
Mhm.
And the journey that they go on. And the first couple minutes of this movie are so gorgeous. Where like there's not really dialogue and anything, you're just setting up the undersea world that we have here. It's so and this is I think what makes this so Japanese anime versus like an American animated movie, because this 100% would have had a musical number. It's all setting
Yes.
up like, look at this wonderful world. Instead, it barely said anything, and it just let us take it in. And I think this is a moment for Miyazaki to really show off what he was trying to do with the animation in this film, because it is gorgeous. The colors are rich. The whole underwater experience is so beautiful. The whole sequence with the tidal wave and the storm and everything is thrilling, incredible, really well put together. I know, John, you kept bringing up the mother son dynamic. So endearing. I love
Mhm.
that. Also, you don't get a whole lot of interactions with the dad, which also is wild that they paid Matt Damon to come on and voice the
Oh
dad
yes, yeah.
when
I
he's
remember seeing his name. It was like I would not have known that was Matt Damon actually.
no. So like it's wild to me. But I guess so they could just throw his name out at this
Possibly.
point. But um that whole interaction with the dad and the mom with
Oh,
Signal
that is so funny. I love that. Yes.
so
Idiot,
hilarious.
idiot, idiot, idiot.
Yeah, that is
Mum and dad
unbelievable.
rowing over Morse code. I love that as
Yeah,
an idea.
kids just going along. That is the most relatable long-term relationship stuff. Seeing a kids movie, beautiful. Real MVPs are those grannies.
Oh
That
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
retirement home. I love them and they're precious. And specifically in the dubbed version, like you have some really famous older actresses playing as like Betty White 100% was one of them.
Oh, okay.
Cloris Leachman, Lily Tomlin, like they went all out to get all the
Mhm.
best grannies.
Yeah.
But like their whole entire dynamic is so much fun with Sasuke and the second part of this film where everything is flooded, there's few films out there that looks this incredibly gorgeous. And yes, John, I also want to move to the seaside.
Yeah.
This is quick side story. So when I was growing up, I told my mom I wanted to retire to Maine on like a coastal town because I watched so much Murder She Wrote and wanted to be in Cabot Cove. This like re-sparks that feeling that I had as a child where I'm like, I want to move to this seaside. This is gorgeous. But like there's just so many charming elements about this. And Ponyo herself is such a like a fiery, energetic little character. And the whole morphing of her like physically, like she run around with little chicken legs
Mhm.
is hilarious. And
She's
all
a
those
sassy little, girl. Like she's a
yeah,
sassy,
No,
like
she doesn't
even in
hold
her
back. Yeah.
fish form, like even in her fish form, like like when she doesn't like something, she spits water at in her face, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Savage.
yep.
Pretty savage.
Um the and it's interesting because this doesn't have like the big war themes that like Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, those kinds of films have, or Pocoroso, but it does at the core of it have the environmental
Hmm.
theme because the whole and it's not like as outwardly as Princess Mononoke and stuff like that. It's more embedded in the fact that like there's a natural balance to the
Hmm.
world that's at stake in this film. And I think that's really interesting that and also that was a great point that you brought up, John, in terms of how this approaches the Little Mermaid story instead of having like an actual antagonist and like giving up her voice and stuff like that. No, this is I want to be a human so bad, but the ramifications are throwing the whole world out of sync.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And like the whole how it affects nature and the tides and everything. And that makes for a really dynamic venture because that's what this is, especially towards the second half where they're really trying to find Sasuke's mom is this adventure on this little boat, little fun boat they're driving
Yeah.
around on.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so many charming moments, but I guess for both of you, what are some of the other things that really stood out to both of you?
I really liked two things. I really liked the mom driving and the way she was driving because like
Crazy driver.
I felt seen. Like I was just gonna say, like she is my spirit animal.
That
All
you
that's
on all the roads in Scotland, Luke.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's like,
yes,
Yeah, yeah. It's probably similar roads in Scotland. Aren't
kind of, yeah, kind of like yeah. And the second, I to your point about like there's no actual antagonist. When what John mentioned, I totally like, and about your point about the environmental message. So I really like that like clever, almost like subversion, because like at the beginning, you see the big net and you see bunch of trash in the sea, and I thought,
Mhm.
oh, it's gonna be about this. Oh, see, I see, and then it's never addressed again. All right, and like Ponyo gets stuck in a jar, but again, it's never really addressed again. And the same with the antagonist. Like you think that kind of the dude, I don't remember his name, but like that used to be a dude. Now he's like underwater
Her dad,
creature.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, was it? Yeah, that.
Fujimoto.
Yeah. Yes, yes. You think, oh, he might be an antagonist because it seems kind of dodgy, but no, he just wants to make sure that Ponyo or Broomhilda
Yes.
understands
Yeah.
understands that, she can do that, but there will be consequences if she actually wants to be fully human, right? And if she actually understands those. And that's why I really that's why this is like a low stakes, quote unquote, movie. Which is, and again, I'm totally for it. I don't think just because it's a Ghibli movie or just because it's a Miyazaki movie, it needs to have like overarching message about the war or environment. It's nice to be there, but it doesn't have to be. Again, I'll enjoy this for what it is. But like the scene with the boat and like and with the baby when she like shares with the baby and like actually forms this connection and like
Mhm.
understands what what it means to be human, and then she then like and then even at the end she is told again, oh yeah, you can be human, but that means you'll forfeit all your magic. Do you understand that? And is that something you truly want to forfeit? And says yes, because she's already been through that human experience, and she understands it's not going to be easy, but she believes, Ponyo believes, it's worth it. And I thought that's like, it's cute. It's very, I don't know if it'll be like, for my money, I would rather be magical creature. But hey, like, that's just me. And like, so I really liked, again, it's a low stakes movie, but it's an adorable movie. It's like a cozy movie, and I see myself rewatching it and then maybe bumping it all the way to 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, because like there's something so charming about this movie. Like just yeah, I really, really, really enjoyed it.
Really wanted that ham.
Oh yes.
Ham!
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was her obsession. Ariel wanted Eric, and Ponyo wanted Ham.
hmm
Now,
Yeah,
what were some of the things that stood out to you?
Luke actually basically took a lot of my notes. Like the
Sorry.
mother's driving was driving me absolutely nuts the entire film. It's like she's swerving all over the road, and there's actually
She's
one.
efficient. Okay, she's
Yeah,
efficient.
she's getting him to school certainly.
Yeah.
And there's one bit near the beginning where he has Ponyo in a bucket, and the mother's actually leaning over and looking at Ponyo in the bucket. I'm screaming at the screen, will you look at the road? It's like you're on a windy road and there's a huge drop into the ocean if you go off the road. What are you doing? You've got a child with you. It's like, oh, like because I, not to brag, but I consider myself a very sensible driver, so it is something that annoys me sometimes. The way that people don't look at the road, particularly in films, it's like something I really notice.
Mhm.
Driving there.
We talked about the sign scene. Again, it's like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It's like the idea of a mother and a father actually rowing through Morse code. It's like that's just such an amazing like concept.
Yeah.
It's like it reminds me actually of I think a college humor video I think I saw of a couple arguing through Siri. I think it's a similar kind of thing that I saw to that. So yeah, I just really like the idea of them just rowing like in a way that you just wouldn't imagine a couple ever actually doing. But yeah, Ponyo's arc is like the real driving force of this, like her relationship with her father, and the fact that she's driven not by Ham really. It's just more like her love for Sosuke really. In reality, I think it's like this is the life that she wants, and she, if it means like having to give up a lot of things, she's okay with that because she wants this life with Sosuke, and her parents were able to give her that over when they weigh up her situation, the mother gets involved, and the dad's he's very similar to King Triton in terms of where he is at the start of the story, and like he's very prejudiced against humans. It's like, no, you can't go up to the surface. And so I think like he like accepts it by the end, and it's more kind of like he understands, no, nothing's going to happen now if we just turn you human. I think Sosuke kisses her at the end, so it's like that recedes the water, and we're back to normal. So he's willing to accept that his daughter's just going to become human, and she'd give her the life that she wants. So I guess he has a similar arc to Triton, but he's maybe like a little bit more accepting of it by the end than I think Triton probably was. And again, the old ladies at the care home, I think, real like good comic relief that they've got there. And oddly enough, that one that sees Ponyo for the first time says she's going to cause a tsunami. It was interesting that she was actually right. That did sort of like in a roundabout way kind of result in
Gotta listen to your elders.
Yeah, that's interesting. That and there's one particularly interesting line at the very end where they're watching like a conversation that they're having, and one of them says, "I wish I knew what they were saying." I'm like, nosy,
Like
they just
nosy
want to know everything.
grannies.
Yeah.
This
Uh,
movie's endlessly relatable by
yeah,
human interactions with people. I'm just like, that's 100% accurate.
yeah,
Those grannies are not just going to sit by and just let people have important conversations over there and not stick their nose in it.
yeah. Having quite a
So,
meaningful conversation. They're just like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" So, oh, one other thing I thought was kind of interesting. They were just letting Sosuke like leave the school on his own when he's supposed to be like 5. I don't know if it's different in Japan, but I just don't think you'd be allowed to do that at a school in this country. Certainly, like letting a 5-year-old out on his own.
I
Uh,
think it's also like how they live outside of like civilization. Like, like it's a seaside,
nah,
like a resort where everybody
maybe
knows each
right.
other.
everybody knows each
Yes,
other.
like it's a one
When
tiny knit community. So it's like, oh yeah, this is this kid. So obviously we will look after this kid because we know he lives there. Like, we know his parents. So I feel like in like more like a seaside communities where, population 1001, like I think it's more common. I grew up on a village where my sister and I we were 6 and we walked to school and it was like on a road 2 kilometers. So like yeah,
Yeah,
we
okay, maybe.
survived.
And I think his mum does live like literally right next door in the care home, doesn't she? Oh, not live, work. Sorry,
work, yep.
Yeah, yeah.
works. So that could have had something to do with it.
The whole town
Mhm.
knows his mom and
Yeah,
her driving.
Exactly.
you are driving, yes.
Sure. There's that was also one of my favorite moments that you brought up, John, was the grannies getting involved in that conversation between Sosuke's mom and Ponyo's mom, where it's just like, what are you talking about over there? Just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
they can't help themselves, can they? And then you have paranoid granny who wouldn't go down with them in the water. It's like,
Yep.
that whole entire sequence. And there's a lot of very relatable parenting moments in this film in terms of how, like, obviously Ponyo's dad is extremely like, no, don't go out there, and very overly protective father. And very relatable. Her mom's just like this magical entity who's just very chill about everything. Um, and then obviously Sosuke's whole family dynamic is so relatable because the funniest thing about that Morse code thing is that the father's like so aloof that she's upset or anything.
He can't hear the anger in the Morse codes.
Yeah,
hmm
there's no tone in your text, there's no tone in your Morse code. So there you go. There's a couple of things that really stood out to me. The tsunami, that giant wave, and how like they're giant like whale
hmm
looking
Yeah.
like water beasts that are coming up. Like that's so creative and interesting and dynamic. And just watching Ponyo like literally like sprint across the top of the water
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah.
is so cool. The kiss at the end, that shot is so great, where it just like jumps up in the air, turns
hmm
into a little girl, and it's like face to face with her floating there. That was such an inspired choice of like how to have that moment because
And
it
it
feels
ends.
unique and different. Yeah,
And it ends right there. Like I
Yeah.
love how that movie knows exactly when to end. Right? Like I was like, oh yeah, and we go to a song about Ponyo being a little fish and all that.
Ponyo,
Nice, yeah,
Ponyo.
nice little song at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, and like ends. I'm like, this is a perfect ending. Like this is not just what happens, but when it happens. And many movies don't know how to end like this. Like I really love when movie knows exactly when to end. On that was on a dot, like no notes. 10 out of 10.
It's like films used to end like that, where
Hmm.
just like credits. Well, the story's over, folks.
Yes.
You're good. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And now it's like a lot of films, like, what was it? Weird comparison to bring up, but like I watched Together
Oh.
in theaters. That's a movie where I'm like, you had the perfect ending shot and decided that you had to over explain something by giving one last scene in the movie. I'm like,
Mm.
no, you had it. You didn't need anything else. This ends it. And then the nice thing is that Miyazaki leverages the credits a lot of the time to add
Mhm.
like little other things going on, but like that song is so uh just especially like this and Totoro, those little theme songs are so catchy.
Yes.
And it's that time of the show where I give Joe Hisaishi some credit because he just makes amazing scores for every single one of Miyazaki's films. And because the music is beautiful and he's always on point capturing the personality of the film,
Hmm.
and even like the incorporation of like those operatic elements to match the fact that her name's Broomhilda, and those like German kind of elements that are incorporated in there with this German opera, it all works and that all really comes together. But yeah, this is just such a lovely little film. And this film is an hour and 40 minutes and just moves. It feels like it's so perfectly paced. We move along, we have our little journey. There's some great visuals, like just the idea of seeing Ponyo and all of her little siblings all swimming in this
Yeah.
giant school of like little girls
Yeah.
and just all of it. But I guess, do either of you have any last minute things that you wanted to bring up or to add?
Mm, I would say again, if you go into this movie expecting something as epic or something as deep as like Princess Mononoke or like Spirited Away or like even House Moving Castle, you will probably be disappointed. And that's why I kind of understand when this first came out, like 2008 or 6 or whatever, like this movie. Yeah, 8, yeah. I kind of understand what people meant at the time. Oh, this is a lower tier, Ghibli movie. But is it? If you accept the movie on its terms, rather than oh, I wish it was this. I wish it would talk about these issues, rather than just being a cutesy movie about a fish who just wants to be a human, right? I think if you accept it on those terms, you will have an amazing time even with your kids. Like, this is genuinely a movie for the entire family where the kids will be delighted, the adults will be delighted, and it's a great time. And I genuinely cannot wait to rewatch it.
Yeah. I would say this was probably like not so much a lower tier Studio Ghibli, it's just like a smaller Studio Ghibli.
Hmm.
It doesn't push like the concepts or the boundaries as much. And there's less of like the bizarre, weird stuff that you would see in Studio Ghibli normally. So it's maybe not as like out there and as ambitious, but that's kind of what I also like about it. It's an easier kind of watch. It doesn't have like any high end concepts or anything like that. It's pretty easy to get a handle on it, even if you've never seen like any Studio Ghibli before. I would say
Yeah,
it's
and
got some kind of weird stuff, but less so than other Studio Ghibli, definitely.
Yeah.
I guess I'll wrap up our conversation by just kind of putting this in context with the rest of the films, because at this point I've watched 12 of his projects.
Hmm.
11 of them are feature-length films. One of them was a weird short that was supposed to be like a trailer for a TV show that never actually got made. And because all of his other shorts are they're non-commercial and only are shown at the Ghibli Museum. So when I go to Japan one day and I get to
Yeah.
watch some of them, I will come back and make videos. But for now, I can't see them. But I feel like you have the big, ambitious, sprawling fantasy films of Nausicaa, Castle in the Sky, Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke. Spirited Away is still very contained for the most part, but the world building is still huge and complex. It's the Kiki's Delivery Service, the Ponyos, and the My Neighbor Totoros that are very much like these small, comforting kinds of
Yeah.
films that have a small perspective that are very intimate in terms of just characters. And they still can throw in those more subtle fantasy kinds of elements. Totoro's still my favorite of like those types of films. I just
Hmm.
think like the added layer of the two sisters and the mother being sick and those things just add another emotional weight. But Ponyo is my number 4 favorite Miyazaki film on my rankings because this is just insanely charming. I have Mononoke, Spirited Away, Totoro, and Ponyo. Um,
Nice.
and then Hal's wrapping out the rest of it. And then I do actually have The Wind Rises in my ranking so far because I did rewatch it already because I'm recording that tomorrow.
Nice.
But the last one I'll have is The Boy and the Heron, which I'm very interested to rewatch that because I was super high on that. That was in my top 5 movies of the year when I watched that. So it'll be
That was
interesting to
great.
watch that.
That was
And
very.
I did see that in my press screening had the subs.
Hmm.
So I did not get to hear Robert Pattinson do his crazy heron voice, which I'm kind of tempted to watch the dub this time because I want to hear his crazy heron voice. But that is a wrap on our discussion of Ponyo. So let's give some recommendations and send all of our audience home with plenty of movies to go check out along with Ponyo. But Luke, what would you like to recommend?
So since I'm slightly behind on movies, I'm gonna recommend a movie many have probably seen, 28 Years Later. So I watched it in the cinema a couple of weeks ago. I thought it was great. I love me some Danny Boyle. I think he is one of the most unique directors of our generation. I've on another podcast I compared him kind of to Stanley Kubrick in a way where he doesn't have his own style and he conquers all the other like genres. And I not so not necessarily the qualities Kubrick's movies have, even though his movies are awesome. What I was trying to say and make my point is, with him, every movie feels different, and he goes through so many genres, and all are quite well done. Like I genuinely cannot think of another filmmaker that bends the genre and not having a necessarily directorial style is a plus for him. Because for many it's like, oh yeah, this could be directed by anybody, but he takes it and makes it into his plus, and I think that's a great thing to do. And yeah, so 28 years later, didn't expect, I didn't think that it was even that scary in a way. Well, like like there are some sequences like, oh okay, but most of the time I didn't expect that, like poignant story about, hey, there's a sense of community and what that means, the sense of growing up, when tough choices need to be made with one character, and how this will define you becoming a man in this kind of post-apocalyptic society, which only affects the UK. So it's definitely not Brexit related, uh, because it's
I
it is
did. I did
quite
wonder that
clear.
actually. Yeah.
It is quite clear the entire world is fine, and everybody is staying away from the UK. So hint, hint, nudge, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
But on a more serious note, I cannot wait for the continuation that's already been made, Nia da Costa, if I'm not mistaken.
Comes out in January, so
Yeah,
it's not even
Oh
that
wow.
far away.
Oh,
which
exciting.
So
which January movie usually are like, this could be
I
bad.
think this is more just like a pacing in terms of
Yeah,
like we need to have like a certain
yeah,
window after this movie came out.
Just move
and
along 6 months,
yes.
something like that. Yeah.
And my final point, I'm one of the few people who actually loved the last like 5 minutes because there is a shift in tone, massive shift without giving anything away. And and it will either make the movie for you or break it. And I understand both points. I understand the people who are like, oh yeah, the 5 minute, I know. I really liked it. And if this
It's
is
it's just setting up for the sequel. That's the problem.
It is like it is, but I really liked how, hey, because we don't see this often. The way I read it or the way I thought about it, many of these post-apocalyptic societies, it's all the same. They are all dirty, doomy and gloomy, rough and tumble, all that, right? And then we see something completely different, and I'm like, I don't think I've seen this like ever. And then I didn't even realize that there's a play on one person in the UK that's now infamously, famous because that person, when he died, it turns out he was a bit of a pedophile and a bit and a lot. So and it actually makes sense in the timeline of the
Yeah.
movie because they didn't know about it. I was like, oh shit, that's actually very fucking smart.
That's clever. Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's
So,
something that was lost upon American audiences, what that
yep.
ending really meant.
Yeah.
Um, all I'm gonna say is tracksuit mafia.
Yeah, like Google, for anybody, Google what's his name, Jimmy
Jimmy
Savile?
Savile.
Yeah, and
Not a
brace
nice man.
yourself. Like, went from national hero to
He was a
shit.
knight. He was given a knighthood.
And after he died, a lot of things have come out after this
Yeah.
dude, and I'm like, uh-oh, no, mm-mm.
Yeah.
I I pretty much loved 28 years later.
Hmm.
Um, I definitely did not have a problem with the first tonal shift in
Yeah,
terms of because like the first half of the film is very much like what people wanted out of a zombie movie.
yes.
But I just think that the movie added depth and really hits a whole other gear. And Ray Fiennes
Oh,
is MVP,
He
and
stands out so much from everybody else just with
it's so good.
his line
And
delivery.
that young actor who led the film was
yes.
incredible.
Incredible, yeah.
And that first half of the film, though, there was some shit scared
Hmm.
at me. Um,
Actually, thank you for reminding me. No, yeah, that young dude. I don't remember his name, but he was so good. Like he held his own with Carrie Con. Wait, Joe. Was it Carrie
Jodie
Condon?
Comer.
Joe. Yeah,
Go for me, yeah.
yeah. It's
Oh, if
the other
Carrie
one.
Condon was in this movie, I would have loved that. Would have won full fights.
Like
I
this.
love Carrie Condon.
Yeah, me too. No, but this little dude held his own against Jodie and against Ralph Fiennes. Like in that scene, like, and he led this movie, and I cannot wait to see more of him because he was phenomenal. Like he was good.
My
Incredible.
2 cents about the
Mhm.
ending.
Okay.
I also love the fact that they were Teletubbies. That's all I'm gonna say. Um,
Yes.
even at that, I could have seen the film ending at a very specific point before said new characters were introduced,
Hmm.
which would have also made for a very interesting opening to the next film. But I can understand what they were trying to set up.
Hmm.
Um, it's that's always the challenge of like we were literally just talking about where do you end a movie,
Yes.
Yeah.
and that's probably the biggest discourse about this movie is where you ended the movie.
Hmm.
Which it in no way like sunk the film for me. Like it took me out of it a little bit at the end, but otherwise, I thought this was a fantastic follow up. And having Danny Boyle and Alex Garland back together was so awesome because
Yes.
they've made some really interesting films together. But yes, would highly recommend. I took my brother to see this for his birthday. It was a 10 o'clock showing, which is not a Shane showtime. Um, I do not like going to the movies that late. And I was completely engaged and also wanted to beat the crap of the 20-year-olds that were in my theater who thought that the emotional moments were stupid and started screaming chicken jockey in my theater.
Jesus Christ.
Interesting. I have have a story about this. My dad
Mhm.
works at the Abbey, where they went to, take shelter for one night, and apparently it disrupted his tours that he does tours at. It's a place called Fountains Abbey, uh, and for about a month or so, they were insisting that they had to corner off a certain area of the Abbey, and they had to keep the grass long. It was sort of really annoying him. So he actually went to see the film with me just to see how much it was actually in the film, and whether or not you actually saw the bits where they had to keep the grass. And it quite annoyed him that it was only in it for 10 minutes, and he didn't really understand why they needed long grass for so many different shots and everything.
Welcome to Hollywood. This is how it's done.
So yeah, I think that ruined the whole experience of the film. It's like, why did we have to keep the grass long?
This movie personally inconvenienced me.
Yeah,
Yes.
What the hell, movie?
yeah.
So, just a quick side note before John gives his recommendation, but Luke and I are going to be doing a podcast for the Wasteland watch list on Heaven's Gate.
Hmm.
Talk about a movie that had plenty of inconveniences. Keep the movie wild. That's going to be a fun conversation because I watched
Yes.
the 3 hour and 39-minute version of it this morning, and It'll be
I
an
have it
interesting
ready.
conversation.
I'm soon gonna watch it. I haven't watched it yet, but I will. I will.
Uh, there we go. But Tom, what would you like to recommend?
So I'm going to recommend a very old film that I actually saw when it came out. It's called Harriet the Spy, which is based on a book. And I actually saw this. Yeah, I just said that when sorry when it came out, and I was actually exactly the right age for
Mhm.
this film because I about Harriet's age in this, and I felt it was appropriate to rewatch it just recently because the lead actress in this, Michelle Trachtenberg, sadly passed away earlier this year, and it's actually like way deeper and way better than I remember it being. Because I remember seeing this as a kid and just thinking it was just a silly like spy,
Mhm.
you know, middle. I don't know if it's high school or I think it's middle school. Just doing away with the bad guys or the bullies at the school and everything. But it's actually way deeper than that. It talks about
Mhm.
a lot of like deep stuff about growing up and the kind of anxiety you feel about what other people think of you. Because basically the main shtick with this whole thing is that Harriet writes down her internal thoughts about everybody. It's kind of like the Burn book in Mean Girls, actually, what she writes. So we all sort of privately think horrible things about people. I think we don't want to admit it, but I think we all do it. And she's writing them down basically. And one day somebody discovers this book, and suddenly they're just reading all these horrible things that Harriet said about them. And suddenly, like now that it's all out there, she's no longer respected by anybody. She loses all her friends, and it's really kind of interesting, like touching on the idea of like it's okay to think these things, but if anybody ever finds out you think these things, suddenly they're gonna think different things about you. And Michelle Trachtenberg's really good in this. It's actually an interesting kind of thing that the sort of mentor, the grown up that she really looks up to, like this sort of like nanny who's played by Rosie O'Donnell, she actually departs the story quite early on. I thought that was quite an interesting turn. I didn't really expect. It's like halfway through or something, and she's just left to sort of try and fight for her own. And the way that she sort of wins the day almost and gets everyone to forgive it. It isn't really by like sort of like doing some kind of good deed or making up for it or just saying that she's sorry. She more just sort of like carries on writing, and then they sort of realize that she's being a bit fair about what she's saying, and that they accept that now that she's doing it in like a sort of public way rather than like this book that says private on it. I think they're a bit more accepting of what she has to say. Uh, so yeah, it talks on a lot of like deep and interesting stuff about child psychology and just where your mind is as you're growing up, and your head's like all over the place about what people think of you and the anxiety of like losing your friends. So it's also about her being a spy. Obviously, from the title, there's a
Mhm.
lot of like child shenanigans as well. So it's kind of a fun film, but it really just grabbed me in like the sort of psychological way of the way that it talks about like growing up and everything. I just really enjoyed that part of it.
We need to learn the lesson to not talk badly about behind people's backs, but being comfortable with people and calling them out on their crap to their faces.
Yeah.
Um, which honestly, sometimes everybody needs that from somebody. Just
Yes.
put them back, like knock you down a couple pegs. It's just like you're getting too big
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
this moment. But no, that's a film that I hadn't watched that since I was a kid, and that would be fun one to go back and check out again because like I distinctly have like flashes of even like the trailers for that movie because like that was definitely one that was out when I was a kid and like paying attention, having
Yeah.
old VHS tapes that just had tons of trailers before the movies because we had to deal
Yeah.
with that
I think
too.
people remember the trailers more than they remember the actual film because the trailers were all
Mm.
about her just being a spy. Really, I don't think they really represented the film very well.
See, that's what they had to get people into the theater. It's just like, we're going to give you a very honest coming of age story. Let's make it a spy movie.
Yeah.
Kids will want to go see that instead. So I'll give you my recommendations real quick. I'll give my standard three. So a new film, watch list film, and rewatch of one of my movies. My new film, which people could debate if this is a film or not. Um, HBO loves releasing two-part documentaries. It's two parts. It's one movie. They just wanted to cut it over 2 nights so that they
Of
could get
course.
ratings on both nights.
Yeah.
And also to be fair, this is an almost 5 hour documentary, and it's Billy Joel and So It Goes. This like I was already a big Billy Joel fan. I've listened to Billy Joel music since I was a kid. Um, he was honestly one of the artists that got me into rock music because I think he's an easy like entry point into rock music because he has such a nice diverse palette of like, and I'm also a big piano fan, and piano music, especially organs, especially. But this documentary is so interesting and layered because it really captures just how impactful and personal all of his music is. And there's so many different complex layers to his life. If you like Billy Joel or love Billy Joel, this is like a must watch. Just, it's in 2.5 hour pieces. So you're going to have to like find a way to slip that in to your
Hmm.
watching.
Okay.
I had to plan it because it came out one Friday night and then the following Friday night on HBO and HBO Max. So love the documentary. It was one of my top 10 films of the year now. I was just really
Nice.
blown away by it. It's interesting because this will prove that I watch listen to Luke's podcast. I know you were specifically talking about how you don't watch a whole lot of documentaries when you're talking to
Yes.
Chris on your latest
Yeah.
3.5 hour episode of Flicks and
Woo!
Chill.
Oh,
And I think myself, my wife, and Patrice
Hmm.
from SiftPop are like the three people that watch documentaries the most out
Yeah.
of who I know. And I'm a huge documentary person, and I love rock docs because I love music too. And then this just hit all of
Hmm.
it. And he's such a fantastic and interesting person to begin with because he's so very New York. He's the
Hmm.
kind of guy's like, I'm going to tell you exactly how it is. Yeah, I had to go into like, I had a mental breakdown. I was going to commit suicide. Like, this got like deep and dark. I'm like,
wow.
and he was like 23 at that point in his life. I'm like, like this was hitting some really deep places. So this is not like a puff piece kind of film. It's a little bit, especially like his most recent life elements, it kind of has to move a little quicker over, but like it really digs deep in places. Off the watch list, this technically is not the first time I watched this, but it took me too long to be able to find a copy of this that's region A for
Hmm.
me to actually have it and watch it. Is The Constant Gardener,
Ah.
because we're
Oh,
going to
I've
be
not.
talking about that as well with Luke. So, preview for the Wasteland retrospective. I got a $6 DVD that's Region A off of Amazon yesterday. I'm like, there's one in stock. I'm like, because I accidentally bought a Blu-ray that was Region B, and the seller had to reach out to me. It's like, did you mean to buy this? I'm like, no, I did
Mm.
not. So, but this movie, and I'm not going to give away too many of my thoughts because Luke and I are going to talk about it more in depth. I think
Mhm.
this is a film that really has been forgotten after 20 years, and I think it's a shame. And it's also uncomfortably topical about powerful people, powerful businesses, and how they can ruin people's lives when you mess with their profits. And Rachel Weisz won an Oscar for this, and she deserved it. I think it was kind of a shame that Ray Fiennes didn't get nominated for Best Actor, but I think his performance is too subtle
Mhm.
to like really stand out, like awards wise. And it was also a stacked year because like that was the years Philip Seymour Hoffman won for Capote, and like David Strathairn was nominated for Good Night and Good Luck, stuff like that. Also, this was the Crash year, and I'm like, how the hell did Crash get nominated, let alone
The
one
film.
Best Picture, when this was a film that came out that could have easily taken that fifth spot.
I,
I
the
thought you meant there was some kind of film crash when you said this was the crash. You
No,
meant the film crash.
the
like
film Crash.
film and metaphorically right after what happened, like it was a total crash. No, that's why, like, not to give much away. I still haven't seen it. It's obviously we'll watch it before next week. That's why I picked it and that's why I bought it. Like I always forget Rachel Weisz is an Oscar winner, and I always forget about that movie. And I'm like, I need to watch it, and I bought, Region B, Europe, Blu-ray, like quite cheap. So
Apparently,
it's
that's a
been
lot
sitting.
easier to find for this
Yes, it is.
particular film.
And it's been sitting on my shelf for a bit too long. So, when Shane asked me, "Oh, what do you feel like doing next time?" I was like, "You know what? Let's finally knock this out of the park. I want to see why Rachel Weisz is an Oscar winner, or not why. I know she's a great actress. I want to see the role, and I
Yes.
want to see why this movie has been kind of forgotten about."
I think it would be if people rediscovered this, I think it would hit uncomfortable places in 2025. It certainly did for me.
Cannot wait.
Rewatching it yesterday. And like Danny Houston, Bill Nye, Pete Postlewaite all have some interesting supporting performances in the film as well.
Hmm.
But as you can tell, I did watch two of the movies that we're going to talk about next weekend.
Yep.
I still have not rewatched The English Patient yet.
Hmm.
So I will find space to watch that because that's what we're pairing it with.
Hmm.
Lastly, I'll make this quick. Rewatch the 2009 Star Trek movie.
Hmm.
This is such a blast.
Yeah.
And like I love the cast is fantastic. Chris Pine for a while was like my least favorite of the famous Chris's. I think just by default.
Yep.
But now like especially with some of the stuff that he's done more recently, like Hell or High Water completely changed that for me. But like
Same.
watching this again, like he's so good in this, and Zachary Quito, as Mr. Peanut Butter would say from BoJack Horseman, um, like that reference. Just the cast is fantastic. Simon Pegg as Scotty is so
Yes.
good. I love him,
Love Simon
and
Pegg.
the action is great. Which like that's not what you expect out of a Star Trek movie, and I know J.J. Abrams really made this like a Star Wars Star Trek movie because that's J.J. Abrams. But this was my opening to Star Trek. This is the first thing I ever watched that was Star Trek related.
Hmm.
So I've gone back and watched the first two Star Trek films. Like at some point, I need to take the dive and watch the original series and Next Generation at least. But like those are going to be some like big time investments, especially Next Generation, in
Yeah.
terms of how much time it is. But like I watched Strange New Worlds. That's been having some fun, interesting episodes this season. I loved Lower Decks. I didn't get all the I
Oh,
didn't
not
get
seen.
all the references, but that show is great, and it makes me sad that they canceled it. So I think this was a good entry point for me, and I still really enjoy all three of these. I think Star Trek Beyond is really underappreciated. That third one, and I'm sad that they didn't make a fourth
The
film in
Quentin
this
Tarantino
series.
one.
I didn't
What?
need the Quentin Tarantino one. Yes, there was a point where he wrote a Star Trek script,
Fucking
and it
beam
was
me up, Scotty.
I think that would
some
be the
other
first time,
efforts that are going to be dropped.
I think I was gonna say the first time ever, like the N word is gonna be dropped in a Star Trek movie as well
Yeah.
with Quentin. Oh, but Samuel L. Jackson in Star Trek, yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Like if it's Quentin
He
movie,
replaces the Tyler Perry character from it because Tyler
yeah.
Perry's in the first one as like
Oh
the head
yeah.
of the Starfleet Academy, and he's just like you. He's like, what the f did you do to this simulation when he's like in the hearing and stuff like
Oh,
that? Would have been hilarious.
big Samuel L.
Like
Jackson line. Yeah.
genuinely one of the reasons I would actually, and I'm not even that big of a like I like Quentin, but I'm not as high on him as many others. I would love to see A, what he would do with Star Trek, and B, what level of his fellow actors that like Samuel L. Jackson, that's pretty much in every single
I want
Tarantino
Kurt
movie.
Russell to be a swaggering Starfleet captain.
Oh,
Oh my god.
him and give me that and Samuel L. Jackson somehow on an adventure. I'm there. Like, yes.
Like Bruce Greenwood was
Hmm.
excellent as Pike
Hmm.
in this movie. And now I'm just imagining what Kurt Russell was. And just like I would have loved that. But
Yep.
anyway,
Cool.
but that is a wrap here on Welcome to the Wasteland. But Luke and John, thank you both so much for coming on and chatting movies with me.
Yeah, no worries.
Always a blast, Shane.
And thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.